Hi, I'm Amanda Latona, and you're watching Pure Health News. Today's show is all about personal injury. We'll be meeting with Las Vegas's top personal injury attorneys to discuss what you should do if you're ever in an accident or even if you're already injured. Now, you're going to want to stick around because we'll be discussing the do's and the don'ts that the insurance companies don't want you to know. Today's show is all about personal injury, and I am joined today by two personal injury attorneys, Brad Mainor and Joe Wirth. Now, Brad is a Las Vegas resident, born and raised, and he studied law in Washington, D.C., where he served on the legal team for the President of the United States. It's very impressive. Joe here volunteers his time for displaced youths, which are kids that cannot afford legal help. That's very wonderful. And together, their firm has collected over $100 million in verdicts and settlements for their clients. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Amanda.
Now, people come from all over to work with you guys, and it's true that you strictly focus on personal injury. Is that correct?
That's right, we do. Personal injury is all we do.
Okay.
There's a lot of lawyers out there that kind of dabble in this and they dabble in that. I'm a bankruptcy lawyer and I also do personal injury. Our firm, that's all we do is personal injury, and we don't divide our loyalties in any way.
Wonderful. So more personal attention for the client. Now, for people that don't know, what exactly is personal injury?
Personal injury, when most people think of personal injury, they think of car accidents.
Right.
And that definitely is a big part of personal injury, and if you're in a car accident, you do want to see a personal injury attorney. But there's so much more that goes into the subject of personal injury, such as, if you're hurt on the job, if you're hurt in a hotel or on a business premises, if a product were to malfunction and injure somebody, that's a personal injury case. If you're sexually assaulted, that's a personal injury case. So there's lots of different areas of personal injury, and it's very important that if you have that type of a case that you see a personal injury attorney that knows the law in that area.
That's right. So tell me, here, especially in Vegas, we see an oversaturated market, billboards, things of that. How does someone know to go to you guys?
Well, what's interesting is you said it yourself, that there is a saturation of personal injury lawyers, and all it really takes is a law license to do personal injury.
Oh.
And so, it's hard and it's confusing for people when they see so much advertising. So it's important to check the track record of a lawyer that you have. It's important to see his accomplishments. It's important to see, is this their focus? Is this what they do? Do they actually go to court if you need to go to court? There's so much that goes into finding a qualified attorney.
Right, and like you said, confusion is probably one of the major things that people deal with when trying to find a personal injury attorney.
2010, I was in a motorcycle accident. I was traveling eastbound on Washington when a gentleman ran a light and hit me. The first thing I thought was I would need to protect myself, so I contacted an attorney first, as opposed to calling the insurance company to make sure that I was covering myself. I called Brad Mainor's office because his name is pretty well known throughout this town. I've lived here a very long time, and they specialize. That's all they do is personal injury. So obviously, if you're in the situation where a person that's their whole focus, of course you're going to get better results as a result of that, instead of someone that's trying to kind of put all their eggs in different baskets. So they specialize in this, and they are experts at it, and they make you feel that way. If you've been in an accident, my first thought to you, or my best advice to you, would be to contact an attorney first and make sure that you are covering yourself, because no one else is. You have to make sure that you have somebody in your corner that knows what they're doing. You're not an attorney, I'm not an attorney. Make sure that you use someone that can help you.
Say they already have an attorney and they're looking to make a switch. How would you tell them to go about doing that?
Well, one of the most disturbing things in our practice is we're finding a lot of people who go and see an attorney when they're hurt, and they never talk to them. You're
saying they don't talk to the actual attorney that they go to see.
That's right.
Right.
The guy on the billboard.
They never even meet the attorney.
Right.
And a lot of times, they come to us, and that's the first time they've talked to an attorney, and they're surprised when we're the ones that we actually sit down and we talk with them.
Wow.
And it's absolutely critical that if you're going to know somebody's case and be able to help them, it makes sense that you would want to meet that person.
Exactly.
When someone's injured in an accident or in a hotel or whatever it may be, they're going through something. They're going through some pain, and they're having anxiety. They've got medical bills that are mounting up. I think the last thing they need is to be kind of pushed aside and be dealing with a legal assistant or a paralegal. They need to talk to an attorney. And that's very, very important, very early, especially early on in a case, so they can get the proper counsel, so that the lawyer can tell them the steps that they need to take, and so that they can protect that person against whoever they may be making a claim against.
And so you say when someone does call your firm, they're actually talking to an attorney as opposed to a telemarketer, is that correct?
Absolutely. Yep, they'll meet with Brad or I, they'll sit down
wow.
with us, and we'll want to go over their entire case. It's not just, hand it off to our legal assistant, and maybe we'll call them if we get around to it.
So say I do want to make the switch. The first step is I just give you a call. Is there a cost and is there a fee in that?
There's never a fee in talking to us. There's
wow.
It's always a free consultation. We're always available to give you what we think about your case. It's a no-brainer. If you want a second opinion, or if you want a first opinion, just talk to us. We'll give you a free consultation. We'll tell you what you think. We'll tell you if you have a case, and if you do, we're offering our services.
I was involved in a car accident. I was in the car with my friend, and we were T-boned in the middle of an intersection. In the accident, I had ruptured discs in my neck and nerve damage to my shoulder, and my hip was hurting pretty bad. After the accident, I wasn't really sure what to do. I was a bit overwhelmed. I didn't know who I should talk to first, and I knew of Brad and his reputation, so I called him first. When I called, they explained to me that I wouldn't be paying any money out of pocket. Not only did they make me feel at ease, but they kept me in the loop, what was going on all of the time. In the settlement, I received more than I was expecting, and I was really impressed to learn that they worked with my doctors and the hospitals and all the tests that I had to do, all those testing centers, to negotiate and get me as much money as they could. Through this process, Brad really treated me as a friend, and I wasn't expecting that dealing with a successful law firm.
And we were talking earlier about a woman that actually came to you and you were her second opinion. So tell me what happened in that case where she was ready to settle for a certain amount.
Well, unfortunately, that happens more than it should.
Right.
We had an experience where a woman came to us, and she was represented by a lawyer who had taken her case, and she was hurt pretty significantly. And he took her to what's called a mediation, and they had offered $120,000 to her, and she was told by her attorney that she needs to take that amount. That's what her case is worth, and she'll never get more. And she felt funny about that and wanted a second opinion. She came and saw me and Joe, and sat down with us, and I asked, well, let me see your medical expenses and records, and I'll evaluate that. When I looked at her case, I immediately realized that this lawyer was just trying to get a quick settlement. Right. And that $120,000 case turned out to be, it was worth much, much more. We settled that case for $1.4 million. You should get a second opinion, and you may very well have a case that's worth much more.
And Joe, like you said, you have nothing to lose.
Absolutely. If you were to come and talk to Brad and I and get a second opinion, it's not going to cost you anything. A lot of people they act under they don't understand that, you're not going to pay for two attorneys.
Right.
You're just going to end up paying, we take care of that, and if we take over the case, it's, there's no risk to that person.
I was in a big box store. All of a sudden, out of the blue, something hit me. It was one of a very large metal cart, and it was filled to the top with cola bottles. And the young man was pushing the cart. He couldn't see anywhere around it. But then he hit me again, much harder, and I flew through the air. He thought it was an obstacle, and he just wanted to push through. And the obstacle was me. Nobody saw it happen. One of the assistant managers helped me up, and I asked him to do a report, and he didn't really want to do it, but he did it. I went to the doctor several days later, and I started to hurt. I chose Brad because I felt he was so knowledgeable in the field of what they called slip and fall. So I had to find somebody who would really represent me and who understood slip and fall and could get a decent settlement for me. The companies that you go against are going to fight you tooth and nail. It's important to have somebody like Brad on your side who's going to fight tooth and nail for you and get the last dollar that you possibly can.
So can any attorney just handle, like, say, a slip and fall?
Well, any attorney can handle it. The question is, can they handle it properly? I mean, if someone came to me and said, hey, I have a bankruptcy, I need you to handle that, I could do it. But I wouldn't be doing that client a service. I'd be doing them a disservice because I would know generally how to do it, but I don't know the specifics, and I wouldn't know how to maximize the best result for that client. And it's the same way with personal injury. Any lawyer that practices law can handle a personal injury case, but can they do it properly? And are they doing a disservice to their client? And they are if they don't focus in on personal injury.
I'm Taylor Randolph. I'm an attorney here in the state of Nevada. I have a master's in legal taxation. You know, most attorneys, most educated attorneys that practice in the law are going to stick to what they know, what their strengths are, and avoid their weaknesses. And essentially, what's vital is to do what you know and do it well. So that's why I always refer my clients to Joe and Brad, because they solely do personal injury representation, and that's their bread and butter, and that's what they excel in. And they know that area of law. I know when I give them a client that they're going to get sound representation. You know, personally, I've tried to dabble in that area of law, and I realize it's better. It's truly better to let somebody that knows what they're doing do it. And you know, soundly, Brad and Joe, they know what they're doing. Clients love them because they actually aren't afraid to communicate with them and return phone calls. Joe and Brad will even give out their cell phone, which is, you know, some stuff that most people won't even do. So they're not afraid to be your attorney. Most attorneys, they just want the case. They don't want the client. Whereas at the Mainor Wirth law firm, they want both. They want to help you out and they want to see the case succeed. And if you've been injured, give Mainor Wirth a call, because the longer you wait, the more damage it will be to your case.
So tell me what goes into each individual case. Can you give us some examples for the viewers?
Well, it depends on a case-by-case basis, but what matters is do you care? Are the attorneys intimately involved with the case? Do they get to know the clients and get to know the details of their case? Are they up on the law? Are they up on the procedures of the law? Are they trying to protect the evidence that's in the case? There's so many steps that need to be taken in each individual case. Those are the kind of things, it's the attention to detail that matters in a personal injury case.
I was in a nightclub that I'd frequented many times in the past, and I was talking to one of the individuals that works in there, young lady, and next thing I know, I saw a look of fear on her face and found myself unconscious in the arms of a bouncer in the bathroom, asking me what had happened and informing me of what had happened, that he had pulled several individuals off me after they were literally beating the hell out of me. They fractured my spine, tore my ACL, broke my ribs, broke my nose, busted my teeth out, and really put a beating on me in what was described by an eyewitness as an attempt to kill me. No other reason was given other than that they were drunk, violent individuals that had frequently had problems in the bar in the past. But unfortunately, when the bar found out how serious my injuries were, they all of a sudden didn't know who these 4 individuals were anymore, even though they had been previously barred from the club on at least 2 occasions. At first, the club communicated with me for 2 or 3 days, and then when they learned the seriousness of my injuries, they did everything they could to distance themselves from the case and try to make it seem like it was actually my fault that I got attacked in their establishment. I knew that I was fighting big money, politically connected individuals, and I wanted to find an attorney that had the guts to go against those guys. And first round, I had an attorney file a lawsuit, but then as the case got more complicated, he bailed out on the case, and I was left pretty much high and dry. And then I found Brad Mainor, and Brad took on my case. They had it all on videotape, and they knew what happened, but they refused to show us and eventually destroyed that videotape. so that we could never see what exactly happened and we could never prove what exactly happened. And even though the proof was probably going to be a little bit tough to come by, Mr. Mainor decided to take the case on anyway, knowing that we were fighting a couple $100 million company. And Mr. Mainor took the case on, made sure that I got the medical care that I needed, kept the doctors at bay for 4 years plus, and got me walking again. When this case first happened, I spent 2 months in a wheelchair. If you get injured in Las Vegas or anywhere in Nevada and you need a personal injury attorney, I recommend you call Mainor Wirth. They took my case, they worked my case, they won my case.
So I had the privilege to talk to a couple of your clients, and they were more than happy with the experience you provided for them, as well as the outcome of their cases, and they got way more than they ever even expected. But I also found out that it didn't just stop there. You guys went above and beyond by helping take care of their medical bills, helping do other things. Now, is that something that everyone does, or is that what you guys do?
Well, they should, to answer your question. But no, it's not something that everyone does, Amanda. And it's unfortunate. Anyone can settle a case. Anyone can get a quick settlement. But what Brad and I have found is that, we don't want the relationship with our clients to end there. We want it to go beyond that. And so what we'll do is we will, let's say in some cases, we'll get a settlement for $500,000, but the medical bills are $400,000. Well, we don't just take the check and take our fee. We'll work with the medical providers so we can get the most value for the client on their case. And there's some other things that we do as well.
Yeah, every dollar that we can save them in medical expenses is more money in their pocket, and that's very important to us because we know that, like you said, we're relationship based. We know that they're going to refer their friends, and we really take care of them. But again, a lot of other firms, a lot of other attorneys, they'll settle a case and they'll give their client the money. Well, we go even beyond that, and we sit them down with a wealth manager that works with our firm, and he sits down with them and tells them, hey, you might want to do this with your money. Instead of spending it on a new car or spending on something that maybe they shouldn't, he will advise them financially what they should do with their money. And so we really care about our clients and how the outcome of their case turns. So
it's not just the case, it's the case and beyond.
Right.
Absolutely.
What should someone look for when choosing a personal injury lawyer?
Well, the first thing that they should look for is, one, is the person going to meet with me? Am I going to actually meet this attorney, or is it just going to be a face in an advertisement?
Well, can they just ask that?
Well, they might ask it, but that doesn't mean they're ever going to meet the attorney. You'd be shocked at the amount of people that come to Brad and I and have never sat down with an attorney and met an attorney face to face.
And they don't do anything about it. Amanda, can you imagine if you went to a doctor and you never saw that doctor?
It's horrible.
Yeah, and you were getting advice from just his staff and his nurse, and every time you went in, you didn't get to talk to the doctor. It's no different with legal advice. You really need to know your attorney, and he needs to be giving you advice. If you don't have that, then there's a red flag. There's a problem. If you're not talking with and you don't know your attorney, maybe you should get a second opinion. Because if you call our office, you're going to talk to me or Joe.
Right.
And we're going to tell you what we think, and that's what we're about.
And what are some of the other things that someone should look for? Experience, court time?
Absolutely. I hate to say it, but there's a lot of attorneys in Las Vegas that don't even know where the courthouse is. And you want an attorney that has experience trying cases, not just settling cases. And that's something that Brad and I have done. We have extensive experience in trying cases all the way through in front of a jury to verdict.
And that might be a little bit, you might think, well, I'm in an accident or I'm injured, I don't want to go to court, and nobody does.
Right.
But what's important about a lawyer that has been to court and has a track record going to court is that the insurance companies know who those lawyers are. And so if you have a case and it's legitimate and you're with one of those experienced trial lawyers, they know it. And they know that you'll take it the distance, and so what it does is it maximizes the settlement value, and that case is more likely to settle.
Oh, so, okay, you have the experience, you have the personal attention. I'm ready to go with you guys. What do I do? What's my next step? Second opinion, phone call?
That's it. That's really, it's that simple. You call, and it's a free consultation. You can meet with us usually that same day. That's how accessible we make ourselves. I mean, we've made ourselves accessible on the weekends if necessary, on weeknights if necessary. We have made ourselves accessible to people in their homes. If their injury prevents them from coming to the office, we'll go see them. Right. We really try to show our clients that we care.
And you can do a phone call or a in-person consultation?
Yeah, we can talk to them on the phone. I mean, sometimes we get clients that are out of the state, and we'd be talking to someone who came here to visit and was injured. So they'll be in New York City, and so sometimes it's necessary to talk over the phone, but we prefer to sit down with you in person because we want to get to know you and understand your case better.
We're coming out of Costco, and I did a slow turn because the car was packed with food, and the lady came and just slammed into my car and threw me into a palm tree and just kept on going. And then we realized we'd been hit because it's such a shock at first. When you're going that slow, you don't think you're going to get hit. And that's exactly what happened. I hurt my neck and my back. At the time, I just thought it was something minor. Immediately was the headache, but you expect that from a crash. It wasn't until later that evening that I realized I wasn't able to think straight. I couldn't feel with my hands. My hands kept going numb and they were tingly, and then I had pain shooting down in my legs. The first person I called was Brad Mainor. I called him before I even called my insurance rep because I wanted to make sure that I gave the right information to the right people in the right sequence. I had the foresight to call an attorney right away because I was in a crash 10 years ago, and I called my insurance company right away, thought that they would handle everything for me because I thought that's why you pay your premiums, and realized when it came time to get my car repaired, they didn't want to help me out. It's important that you follow the important steps of first calling an attorney, getting medical attention. By calling and speaking to Brad, they were able to start the process of contacting the other person's insurance and getting my case established. So I didn't have to do that on my own, which I thought I would. When it came to the end of my case, I wasn't expecting to get any money back because my medical bills were so high that Brad and his staff made sure that I actually got money in my pocket. So not only were my bills paid, I got money back too. After the settlement, they still continued to work for me. I still was receiving bills from different doctors that I had seen in the beginning of the case, and they were able to make those phone calls and the bills stopped coming. After working with Brad on my daughter's case, I knew how concerned he was about his clients. But after our car crash, I called Brad on a Sunday. I was surprised that I got a phone call back that evening from Brad asking how we were doing, giving me the information that I needed on what type of doctor to go see, to get into physical therapy right away, that would help our injuries in the long run, especially because my daughter had just been released from her previous crash. In our case, I asked around. With Kristen's case, I asked around. I asked people who had been in car crashes. I had had some experience with some bad attorneys here in town and knew I didn't want to take that route again. So I researched and looked on the internet and talked to other people that have used him, and that's when we were sold on Brad. From talking to different people, I hear so many people that are seeing an attorney they're not comfortable with. They don't feel that they're being handled and represented correctly. They call in, all they speak to is a paralegal or the receptionist. If you're not comfortable with the attorneys you currently have, call Joe, call Brad. They're gonna do you right.
So tell me guys, who's a candidate for personal injury?
Well, a lot of people are injured. People get hurt all the time, and you're a candidate if you're hurt at the hands of another, and a lot of times you don't know. And so what happens is some people just ignore it or they don't do anything about it. If you're hurt in a car accident or on someone's property or a product hurts you, if you're hurt and you believe that someone else is responsible, just call us and we'll tell you what we think about it. A lot of times people think that, well, I'm just only a little bit injured. And we've seen cases where people think that at first, and then 6 months later they're getting surgery for their injuries, and they didn't take the steps necessary to protect themselves, and it really affected the value of the case.
And that's what I was gonna say. Is there a difference if you act right away or if you wait? Say that does happen. Say I got injured and I didn't feel anything, but 6 months, 4 months even, I call and I say I'm injured. Does it look like I mean, is there a way to prove that? Does it look like does something have to be documented? Is that what's always best to call just in case?
We'll tell you. I mean, that again is why you just go ahead and call us. We'll tell you. We'll give you our honest opinion. But you touched upon something that's very important, and that's the timing.
Right.
Okay. And it's absolutely critical that if you are injured, that you don't wait and wait and wait before you pick up the phone, because during that time there might be things that go wrong with your potential case. For example, evidence could be destroyed. We've seen cases like that. Witnesses, you lose their phone numbers and those people go away. There's all kinds of things that Brad and I know and that we do to ensure that your case is basically, seal proof and that doesn't have any unnecessary problems in it.
Okay, so I'm sitting at home, I'm a viewer at home. I just got hurt. I have no idea what's the difference of me calling you guys or calling my insurance company to take care of it.
Well, the difference is insurance companies, their main goal is to save money. That's what they're, that's their job. The adjuster's job is to see how little that they have to pay on a certain case or claim. So insurance serves its purpose, but if they did their job properly, guys like us would be out of a job.
You hear a lot of talk about arbitration, mediation, and trial. What are those things? What's the difference?
Well, anybody can settle a case. I mean, you can settle a case for less than it's worth. Any lawyer can do that.
Okay.
A lot of times it's necessary to go beyond just a settlement because they're not offering enough. And so there's ways to do that. Arbitration is one way. A mediation is another, where everybody sits down and the lawyers that have experience mediating cases will help try to negotiate a case with a third party. And trial, of course, is what you see on TV, is when you have a jury and a judge, and you're going to want a lawyer on your side that has experience doing that in case they're not giving you fair value. So there's different ways to get a client compensation. You want a personal injury firm that has experience with all those different ways.
Right. So is every case you handle settled?
Every case comes to a resolution.
Right.
Some cases have to go to trial. So although most cases settle, most of them do, some cases, a small minority of them, have to go to trial. So that's not a settlement, that's a verdict and ultimately a judgment, and you collect on that judgment. So.
And that's why you want to go with someone that specializes, like your firm, in personal injury, because of the fact that you have the experience in all three of those areas.
Correct.
Right.
Thank you so much for watching Pure Health News. I'm Amanda Latona. For more information, please visit the website below or call their firm for a free consultation.